Hello, everybody watching today on PRNEWS LinkedIn, and those of you tuning in afterwards. My name is Sophie Merowitz, and I'm Senior Content Manager for PRNEWS and The Social Shakeup. And I am here today with Brian Fanzo, CEO of iSocialFans, and our MC and illustrious host for the Social Shakeup 2020. So what is the Social Shakeup? The Social Shakeup is a annual social media conference that PRNews' sister brand, The Social Shakeup, holds usually in Atlanta every May. And of course, with everything that's going on in the world, we are going virtual this year. So we are going to have a ton, over 20 presentations from social media and marketing professionals at various brands, nonprofits, trade associations, sharing all of their work with you and their top tactics for succeeding in the world of digital. And that is happening September 22nd and 23rd. Those are our workshop days where you'll get to kind of jump in and get some hands-on training in social media measurement and learning how to manage social media on a shoestring budget. And then September 29th, September 30th, and October 1st, we are going to have our panels, our presentations, our fireside chats. And it's a really great roster this year. We have folks from Sephora, and we have folks from the American Heart Association, folks from American Marketing Association. So sort of all over the spectrum, nonprofits, brands, associations, sharing their piece of their industry, some case studies and how-tos, and, take all that goodness back to your desk and back to your, home office, likely. Again, Brian is going to be hosting the whole thing.
Yeah.
Here with me today. Brian, I was going to jump into your bio, but why don't you kind of let the audience, let us know who you are and what you're all about.
So yeah, this is my 5th social shakeup, I believe. So that's in effect is one of my favorite events every year. I'm a digital futurist, virtual keynote speaker, because I was a keynote speaker, but then COVID made me an unemployed keynote speaker. So I became a virtual keynote speaker. Actually done my 51st presentation yesterday since March 30th. So lots of virtual right now. And my main focus has always been helping people see the synergy between technology, innovation, and humanity, and where that all fits. And so it's interesting times now, with everything that's going on. It's kind of fast forwarded a lot of what I talk about 7 years in advance of where I think we would have been before. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for virtual of Social Shakeup. Now, as much as I love Atlanta and I love the local scene, we always did like the dine around town. I always had a great time. It's kind of cool now because if you can't travel or you don't have the budget for that, you can join us virtually. So this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're super excited. And there are folks coming from around the world to this thing. I know we had some emails from a group in Africa that's going to be joining us, all over the States, England. It's tough. It can be isolating living in this time. So having kind of a place for all of us to come together and talk about what's going on in our various industries and share our work is, I think, a really important moment. So given you're going to be a big part of this conference, kind of jumping in, sharing some of your wisdom and what you've learned working with brands, and kind of helping us build a through line for this conference and just kind of bringing everybody into the fold. I'm curious, what's on your mind in the world of social? Obviously, we have, entered this new paradigm with COVID and, just global unrest and everything that's going on. So what are some of the kind of big trends that you're seeing and the adjustments and, the work that's being done out there that you dig?
No, yeah, this is a good one. I think it does tie perfectly into the event. One of my favorite things about Social Shakeup compared to a lot of other conferences, the brands that are there are brands that usually don't speak at a lot of events, and they're giving you kind of the practical view into their war room and how they operate. And I think, if you look at these last, I actually look back. For me, I think it's this is day 164 since, I feel like I started to get grasp on what was going on. And I think one of the things we're seeing, I've always said that every year since 2015 has been the year of video. And 2020 has been the year of you're forced to do Zoom video, live video, all kinds of video. but I also think it's allowed for a new appreciation for video, because there was a lot of people that are like, oh, that's the kids on YouTube, and we have someone on our marketing team that does video, and anyone can go live, and anyone can do a webinar, anyone can do a live stream. And then when everyone was forced to work from home and forced to, I celebrated my dad's 67th birthday, via
Aw,
Zoom.
happy birthday, Dad.
I know, and you know what? He said it was one of his favorite birthdays he's ever had, because we spent 2 hours on Zoom. The whole family joined in. We did different backgrounds of like our favorite photos of Dad, and so I think one of the things that you said there earlier too, we're looking for connection, but I think more so than anything else, and this is actually where I think TikTok has really done amazing, is we are looking to find our tribe virtually. And it doesn't mean we have to find millions of people anymore. It's like, I just want to find people that are like me, that talk about similar things. And like the TikTok algorithm, for those that aren't, I'm not going to pitch TikTok. I'm going to more pitch the concept of what it is, because for me, there's so much to learn from those kind of things. And like, you can find, like, I drive a Jeep Wrangler. My Jeep's, I have a Jeep picture back there. And the Jeep tribe on TikTok is amazing. I've connected with people where there's people in Virginia where I live that are, one of them is 20 minutes away that I never knew. And it was just using the hashtags on TikTok. And I think if we look at video, we look at forced into Zoom, forced into work from home, that idea of connection, right? Like, where do we connect? How do we connect? And even, it doesn't have to be full public, right? I think, you're seeing things like, Facebook events is focused. LinkedIn Live has LinkedIn events. We are getting a little bit better at, hey, we don't have to reach the world anymore. And, how do we reach our people? And so that's one of the trends that excites me. It also, is a little scary, because it's not easy on Facebook. It's not easy on Instagram. Twitter, it's easy, but it depends on what your tribe is. Sometimes it could be so noisy and so polarizing that it can set you off. So I think that's, to me, is I think one of the things that I think we're going to see a lot of influence moving forward on how do we enable our clients, our customers, even our employees to find their people.
Yeah, Brian, we're going to have to see Jeep Twitter go up against bike Twitter.
Oh yeah,
that's my track.
Hey, I'm a bike fan too. I've been riding my bike almost every day around my house, my neighborhood as well. So I'm a bike fan.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting what you mentioned about all of us being on video right now, because obviously there's also this thing of being zoomed out, and we kind of had scrolling fatigue before the pandemic hit. But what do you think really grabs audiences right now when they're so used to being on video calls and seeing video content constantly?
Well, I have a little fired up when I hear about Zoom fatigue, because I don't really think it's Zoom fatigue. I think it's really bad Zooms of boring, monotone content, and then also Zoom for no reason, right? Like, when we worked in corporate, I worked in enterprise for the government. The amount of times you had a meeting that should have been accomplished via one email or one Slack, but you had these wasted meetings. And what did we all hate? We hated meetings, and we were avoid meetings. Well, Zoom became the same thing, right? I had someone send me a Zoom link, and we got on, and they're like, I just wanted to confirm we're all good to go with everything we sent. And I was like, you're kidding. Like, not only could that have been a phone call or an email or a message, like, you didn't need to have me on video. It didn't need, so I think this is one of those things where I think what we're looking for is, and I just posted a YouTube video about this this week. I don't believe every virtual event should be interactive. And I believe when we use the word interactive, it demonetizes what kind of works, because some conversation, some content is really prone for great interaction, but other content is not, right? It can be entertaining, educational, and some people don't like to interact. They just want to learn. They want to take notes, right? They want to consume. And so I look at all of this in the virtual space as participatory content. And what I mean by that, more so than, like, I don't need to make everything interactive, but I do believe we need to allow the audience to participate. And then we have to be creative with how we maintain the audience's attention, right? If we just take a keynote from the stage and we throw it into a video, that's YouTube and Netflix, right? Like, they already have plenty of those choices. But if you take, a keynote from off stage, and this is what I've been doing with my clients, I coach a lot of speakers, a lot of executives, is I say, let's throw away the mechanics of what you did offline. Let's rip out this beautiful, like the value, the lessons learned, what you were trying to accomplish. and then look virtually at how we can deliver that. It doesn't mean we need slides. It can be overlays. Maybe we bring in more guests, because bringing in our favorite influencers is as easy as, sending a link compared to, flying someone out. And so when I look at this total package, I look at it as we need someone, we need people to kind of bring us along. We need to have that participatory element. And then we as speakers and as event managers and event producers have to really focus on that participatory element. And I think one of the things that also is missing for a lot of people is the education of, am I expected to participate, or can I go chase my kids around because we're all, have kids that are working from home, or can I go get my food? And I think that's also important when we're thinking about these, Zoom fatigue. If you can just listen, I tell you to switch over to your phone and go do, treat this like a podcast. But then at 1:00, I'm gonna have some polls that I need your guys' feedback, because I'm gonna shape the rest of this content. Now that person says, okay, I can consume, I can listen on my time. At 1:00, I can make it a dedicated time to engage. And I think that's where we've kind of gone wrong. But really, the reason that also is because webinars have never come close to replacing what we did offline, ever. And I don't believe they'll ever replace, but I do believe they can supplement, if not, provide some new value if we pay attention to all these things, right? Just simply doing a webinar with shared screens and voiceover. I mean, those weren't great value in the past. And I think, now when I look at it, I look at 2020 as where we're reinventing the entire concept of a virtual experience. And I think we can do that without, driving home that fatigue problem.
Yeah, one of the things we're wrapping into our workshops this year is this concept of a clinic. It's not about, you have to get up and present in front of the class, but it's, come ready with, your questions and, a few ideas. Like, we're going to make sure that we reach out to attendees beforehand and say, hey, what campaigns are you thinking about? Like, what's on your wish list that you're not quite ready to pull the trigger on? And then have our speakers, who are experts, who are working through these problems every day too, say, hey, if I were working on this campaign, this is how much budget I would think about putting towards this, or this is the platform that I would use, or here are some tools I really like, get a free trial, check them out because they're really useful for monitoring or whatever. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I've definitely been in those situations where, it feels like you're in class and it's the end of the day and the teacher, is quizzing you or like wants you to bring in. And we're all, exhausted. I just shout out to all the mamas and papas out there like you who are, doing childcare and working at the same time, because it is not easy. Not having kids, just having a little wiener dog. I don't, but I.
Right. Or like co-sharing the apartment. And on top of that, we have like the mental health impact of, we're living in a pandemic and we have so many things going on, right? Like, so there is definitely something to be said about, respecting people's time. I love the clinic idea. I love, making this very collaborative, right? Like, the reason masterminds became trendy wasn't because they were all of a sudden innovative. It was because we were bored of being talked at and we wanted to be included. And all of a sudden this concept of a mastermind existed, but really that's what this is. And I think that's where we're moving forward. I think with virtual, I think, helping people kind of manage that prioritization and allow them to really get, some actionable things. I think that's, it's exciting. I think it's also going to take a lot of work. I love, what we're all doing, especially even for this event, right? Like, understanding, hey, these are the speakers, this is the content that matters, this is how it can be actionable. Because I do believe, we're craving connection. And I would say the one thing that I think that we have to also think about is, one of the things we're missing, and I live by myself, I have my daughters half the time, is we're missing co-consumption of content. Like, when you're at an event, even if you don't know anybody, there's a break, you're like, oh, that was a great session, or wow, that was a boring, like that moderator was horrible at that panel, right? Whatever it may be, but you have like that, and then you walk out and you kind of feel like, wow. Well, with virtual events, we've all done it, right? At the end of the virtual event, the last keynote, it's like, zoom, like the screen goes black and you're back to the reality of in your house COVID. And so I think if you start looking at those type of things, like, how do we connect this world? How do we make us not feel like it's just an end drop off? How do we connect some of the days? I love that, breaking things up and kind of giving people lots of options, is exciting. But that's one that it's hard to solve, that co-consumption, because I'll tell you, like, for me, I just want someone to watch. Like, everyone's excited for the NBA being back. I was excited, but then I was like, I don't have anybody to watch it with. Like, I want someone to just sit on the couch next to me, like as simple as that sounds. And I think we are definitely living in interesting times with, with just little things like that.
Yeah. And sort of, this is a natural transition to take an actual look and dive into the agenda a little bit. So I am going to share my screen and bring up the Social Shakeup agenda here.
All right.
You've got it. I think we've got it. Yes. Awesome. Can you see the agenda, Brian?
I am. I got it up. I see it.
Great. Great. So yeah, so as you can see, we've got this these 2 workshop days.
Look at those first 2 workshops. If you're talking about relative content right now, right? Like crisis, being crisis ready with crisis management and video storytelling. I think that's the epitome of what we're all kind of looking at this moment, which I think, is important to, understand these topics and how people are doing it. I think we're all learning together, which I think is something great about, these kind of workshops.
Yeah. And, I think video storytelling, that's been sort of buzzy for several years, maybe since Facebook Live came up. How do you see it changing or being, for the brand marketer or for the social media manager, how has video storytelling changed in 2020?
Well, first off, all 3 of them are my good friends. I've actually seen all 3 of them speak before. So that's a great group that's going to do, like not only kind of help understand that, but really kind of push things in very practical ways. But I think, being empathetic out of the gate is everything right now, right? Empathy, I feel like, was getting a little buzzwordy, coming into 2020. But when we look at what's been going on, right, the idea that authenticity has all of a sudden been what's working, right? Look at the Nike video ads. Look at the Domino's. Like, Domino's was my favorite. I ordered Domino's pizza the day they did the ad, where it's a video of their drivers, vertical video with like there's trash over their shoulder. The one guy had 6 Domino's boxes in the back of his truck. But it was just that, like, wow, like they're showing us the people that are giving us the hands-free delivery, right? And like, as we look at authenticity, and this is something I work a lot on with brands and businesses, on like vulnerability, authenticity, transparency. And the interesting thing about that is integrating that in video has been something we've kind of put off, right? We're like, well, we'll produce a video. We don't have, like, we'll be empathetic because we're not going to talk about these topics, but we're not going to be like, allow people in. And I think right now we're seeing people allow people in. I love, Mia Rodriguez has a lot of great stories of how Microsoft has like a storytelling team that they embed in their different groups. And it's really insightful to see how Microsoft approaches storytelling at the most granular level, even from like when they're launching a new mouse. They have a storytelling person to be in that process so they can tell the story of that design. So that's me a great session. I'm a fan of all 3 speakers, and definitely be one to bookmark for sure.
Awesome. Looking into the kind of presentation days, here's our platform speaker, yes. Leah from Twitter. So, Twitter's really been leaning in on the creator side. I'm sure there's some tie in there to the tribes you mentioned.
I mean, Twitter's still my favorite social network in the world. Yeah. Like, I spend more time there every day. It's the first one I look at when I wake up. It's the last one I look at when I go to bed. For me, the beauty of Twitter is like, you don't have to know me. You don't have to like me. You don't even have to have ever heard of me. But if you search for a topic and I'm talking about it, you can jump into the conversation. And there's no other social network in the world that has that, right? And if when you post on Facebook, the only people, well, like 5% of all your people see it. But like, like the only people that see are people that are already connected. Same with Instagram, same with a lot of these channels. And Twitter is that exception, not a political statement, but the president tweeting has definitely added a different element of communication to that platform. And I think as creators, we have to think about it differently. I just did a influencer campaign with a brand, and they wanted me to do everything on Instagram. And I kind of told them I had this strategy of using Twitter. And sure enough, one tweet that, of course, I built the tweet and kind of set it up to be that way. But we had 281 clicks and fill out of the form from one tweet. And part of that was using the right hashtags, knowing what my audience likes. But I'm excited to hear kind of how Leah talks Twitter and even just where content and Twitter kind of fit right now, because there's lots of attention on them for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a huge Twitter fan too. I have a band, and I for years tried to really pick up on Instagram, and look at me, come to my shows, listen to my music, and then I transitioned into Twitter for sort of more advocacy and activism in my outside of work life. And wow, like the engagement when you're talking about a cause, when you're rallying around something that people are really passionate about on that platform, I mean, that's the place to be. I was shocked when I saw the sort of numbers start coming, just talking about how I wanted a bike lane on my street, or how, my neighborhood was too polluted, stuff like that. People really, really want to connect in that way on that platform. Um, yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But that is a good little snapshot of what the conference looks like.
Yeah,
And we are so excited to have you hosting, Brian.
excited to be back.
Yeah, and so everybody watching live or later, check out the Social Shakeup. The website is socialshakeupshow.com. I'll plug it into the comment section and pin it so you can
Yep.
find it.
I'll give a little secret for those that are like looking at it, right? To get more value out of this event, about the speakers right now, connect with them on social, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram. And I think that's one of the beauties of virtual, that you can connect and build that rapport, even, as an attendee, see what they're sharing, seeing what they're talking about, and really get that, momentum moving forward. So I think that's one that's exciting. And I also think, we're at a time right now where, the new normal, whichever that becomes in our future, the thing, I'm an optimist. I'm a very positive, optimistic person for the most part. And not saying that these times haven't been tough, but the thing that probably excites me the most right now is that we get to shape what the future looks like as we come out of this new normal. And because of that, we get to redesign a lot of things, including crisis management and the role of a social media manager, and what our social media teams look like. How do we work with agencies? And so I think for a lot of people, one of the things I recommend is, coming into this event with almost a fresh look of saying, can I ask questions that I haven't asked in 4 years? Can I start to look at things with a lens? Because this is going to be a new time, as we kind of emerge out of this pandemic. And I think we're going to see some things that we would have never imagined we did 5 years ago. And we're also going to see some things that we did 10 years ago, all of a sudden start working again today. So I definitely recommend, sign up for the event and do a little bit of your research and connect with a lot of these speakers ahead of time, because it'll, really add to the value of the event for you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Brian. Everybody else, we will see you September 22nd and 23rd for our workshops, the 29th, 30th, and October 1st for the conference proper. We'll see you then. Have a good few weeks till the end of September.
Cheers.